We've all seen the soaring franchise values, record-breaking media deals in the sporting world, but one well-known investor now warning that it may be a bubble ready to burst. And CNBC Sports is CNBC Sport, I should say, not Sports is, but Alex Sherman sat down with RedBird Capital's Gerry Cardinale.
This notion that, it outperforms the S&P over a historical period of time, it always goes up. It's non-correlated to the macro. There are elements of all of that that's true. But I think if you're a student of history, you know that always going up is not a great arbiter for making an investment.
And joining us right now is the man who conducted that interview, Alex Sherman. Look, I've been worried about this for quite some time. We've been asking so many different executives who've been coming in here saying they're interested in sports. We talked to Rory. Everybody's trying to be in the sports business one way or the other. Some in terms of buying franchises, some in terms of sports tech or these sort of ancillary businesses that live inside the sports ecosystem. What do you think?
Well, you heard Gerry talk specifically about this idea of investing in teams, and I think that's what he's really concerned about, because you've seen with private equity investment, particularly in minority stakes in teams across the board, it just became legal to do this in the NFL. Right. They just changed the rule last year. It's been around for a few years for the other major U.S. sports, but it has picked up steam recently. And as it has picked up steam, the valuations of all these teams have increased because now you have this new outside capital. Everybody wants in. It's a big rush. These are scarce assets. And his point is that if you look at the underlying tenets of the business, particularly driven or connected toward media rights, the valuations don't really add up.
But we're talking, hold on, let's just go back. Are we talking what I call big sport?
Yes.
So big sport is NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball.
Yes.
Then there's all the money that's flooding into everything else, including pickleball and sailing and drone racing and you name the sport.
So all of these assets, in theory, should be connected to the future growth rate of media, because most of the revenue comes from media. Right. Even for pickleball, to be honest. The future valuation of that business is tied up in whatever we think the future of the media rights of the pickleball business will be. So for women's sports, there's like euphoria right now because there's a feeling that we are on the cusp of the media rights for women's sports, big-time women's sports, going through the roof. Right. Will that happen? I don't know yet. I mean, they got a big 6x increase on their last media rights deal. This is the WNBA. But I think the feeling is, well, that number could go much, much, much higher in the years to come. There's still an enormous delta, if you think about it, in that 11-year deal the WNBA struck with the NBA. About $2 billion of that deal went to the WNBA. $75 billion went to the NBA. Wow. So that's the delta we're talking about, which is why there's so much enthusiasm behind women's sports. But Gerry Cardinale's point is that, yeah, but the assets valuations for all of these sports are too high right now.
Okay, let me ask one other related question, because there's investing in the leagues themselves, and then there's all this ancillary investment that's taking place, as we described before. If the franchises don't have the value that we thought they did, does it therefore trickle down to everything else that lives around it?
Yeah, I think that one is probably it depends what the business is. Certainly, Gerry Cardinale's point, you can listen to the interview on podcast form or on CNBC.com, he says it's very dependent on the business itself. You can still create businesses from scratch around the sports ecosystem that can be phenomenal businesses with much better underlying tenets where there's a clear top line, bottom line growth. His point is that the equity research does not exist today in terms of the team valuations. It's just non-existent. So there's all of this money flooding in because they want a piece because it's cool to own a minority stake in one of these businesses. But actually, if you do a little bit of digging, that piece of the puzzle doesn't add up, in his opinion.
You see Bonnie Hammer on yesterday. She created a bunch of stuff, obviously. Dramas, suits, all that. You saw it.
Programming. Yeah.
News and sports. News and sports. I don't think this has ever come. Maybe some of the third and fourth tier stuff, maybe. But the main ones, that's just going to buy it now because it's going to cost more.
Well, right. That's the counter argument, which is that these are scarce assets. These are really rich people that are buying them. Forget about private equity money. It's a vanity play, and that will never stop. It's the same thing in investing in art or collectibles or whatever. Right. There's only so many of these things. And then if you look historically, in fact, there's a cool chart in my newsletter today, which you can sign up for on cnbc.com/sport, that shows the astronomical rise in team valuations. And it is truly up and to the right over the past 70 years.
Cool. That's not changing, I don't think. And business news.
You can grab the newsletter right there. Just point your phone at the screen.
Does that really work?
You get the podcast at the same time that way?
Magic.
I mean,
you get the newsletter and then you get the podcast.
That's right. The podcast is right in the newsletter. Right. Exactly.
There you go. Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
nice to see you.